We're very, very happy to have Nation Burrito back finally after so many years here on the corner of Sherbrooke and Harvard in their snazzy new location. This is the kind of place that, you know, if you've ever been to a city that you visited a neighborhood that you've never been to before and you find this really cool restaurant that's really not for tourists but for the locals, that's Nation Burrito. We're going to be talking with the owner of Nation Burrito, Susan Gyetvay. So come on in, let's have a look.
So this is the dining room. One of my favorite parts of the dining room is this window that looks onto Girard Park. Yeah. This is going to be our stage, where we're going to have open mic. Yes, this is my handsome husband. We have a giant cutout of Roger playing the bass. And then this is going to be a salsa, hot sauce and salsa bar after the pandemic. Our plan is to have a lot of local, homemade or independently made hot sauces, and people can kind of share their opinions about it, and be another thing for people to talk about and share about. This is where we do all the packing of the takeout, because it features really prominently right now. You come on in through here, this is the kitchen. This is our very important coffee station, and this beautiful gas stove where I do all the cooking and the grilling. And then this is my office where I do everything right now.
So, hi, Susan.
Hi, Clifford.
You decided to open up Nation Burrito during the pandemic, and I'm wondering how you ever came to that decision and where you got the guts to do it.
Right. Well, that's a really great question. This wasn't supposed to happen during a pandemic. That wasn't part of the plan. I took possession in January 1st, 2020, a year ago, having absolutely no idea that a pandemic was coming. But had to make adjustments along the way, and ended up opening up in June, a couple of months later than we had anticipated because of the pandemic. And so, yep, It was not in the plans, but it's worked out okay.
Yeah, it's worked out fine. You're still able to serve clients, and people seem to be quite enthusiastic about it, actually.
So we were able to make what everyone talks about is the adjustment, right? We were able to make that adjustment to doing takeout only. It was really not the intention. The vision for this place is to be a destination. It's to be a place where people come to be in community with each other, to share food and music. We'd like to do open mics where it's just really casual, where even if you're not even that great, you're welcome to pick up a guitar or just sing a song. And anyway, that was really the vision. But, you know, as people say, we were able to pivot and make that switch to really focusing on the takeout, and that's kept us going.
Makes sense. And so let me ask, why burritos?
Okay, well, burritos are vegetarian and they're beans, and ours are made from whole beans. And I think that right now for the planet and for humans and everyone, it's just a really affordable, sustainable, and good for you kind of thing to be eating. And I'm not a vegetarian, but I do think that it's really great to have a protein alternative to animal protein to keep you going. And, you know, since the past 15 years, we are finding so many more vegetarians around NDG and in general. And of course, now there's vegans as well. And so it's just a popular, affordable, sustainable choice.
It sounds very NDG to me.
It's very NDG.
What would you say is the most enjoyable thing about running a small restaurant? What would be the most difficult thing about running a small restaurant?
I'd have to say the most enjoyable thing is the customers. I'm just blown away by how welcoming and generous and kind and grateful. You know, people have been actually just grateful that we're here. And that's the biggest thing we hear is gratitude, saying, oh, I'm so glad you're back, or I'm so glad you're here, for people who didn't know about us previously. And you know, one of the things that when we opened, you know, I'm owner operated, so I don't have tips on the Interac. And
right.
People would say, where's the tip? I want a tip. Where's the tip? Tip, tip, tip. And I said, oh, well, you know, I'm the owner. It's okay. No, not necessary. And time again, people would say, but I want to support you. I want to help you. And so finally I installed the tip feature, activated it, but like, it just blew me away. And then the other great thing about running a small restaurant is, you know, I think everybody has this inner 7-year-old that just wants to kind of say, ta-da, look what I can do. You know, so that's pretty amazing feeling. My inner 7-year-old is really loving this. The hardest thing has been the fear, just kind of this ever-present sense of, this is too much or too hard, or I can't do this, or I'm going to fail. And it's kind of always there to some degree, because this was really hard. You know, opening a small restaurant from the ground up is really hard. And I love a good challenge. I really like hard work. But at the same time, I'm human, and there's a certain element of fear. I'm across the street from Coquino Coffee Shop, and when I go in there for coffee, you know, John, the owner, he'll say, how are you today, Susan? And he's the kind of guy, when he says, how are you today, he really wants to know, how are you today? So some days I say, I'm scared, John, I'm scared today. And he says, that's okay. You want to hold on to that fear. That's what's going to keep you good. That's what's going to keep you always pushing the boundaries. That's what's going to keep you wanting to do your best.
It's very true.
So good words.
Well, and like they say, success is the worst teacher.
Right, exactly.
You know, if you get overly confident, then, you know. And
that's exactly his point. That's right. You want to always keep that little edge. And then I'll tell you that one other hard thing has been just accepting the fact that to have the vision complete is delayed. And I mean, it's going to be going on a year that we've been operating. Well, not quite, but longer than we ever anticipated, operating as a takeout joint rather than having the vision. So just keeping positive, even though I'm here alone in the wind, you can hear the wind blowing, there's nothing going on. And even when people are here, they're so far away from me. I'm back in the kitchen and they're up here. And so that's just been challenging, having it not be that place where people come to be together.
And is it just you here, or do you have staff at all?
It's me during the day. We have one staff, which is my niece, Grace, who is a hostess and cashier part-time. And then other than that, Roger, my husband, comes when he's done his day at John Abbott College online. He comes and does the supper rush with me.
All right. And so do you have any anecdotes? I mean, I realize you haven't had too many customers in the place, but are there any funny special anecdotes?
There's this recurring thing that happens where people remember us from 15 years ago from down the road. And one day this young guy came in with his partner. He looked like he was about 20 or so, and he ordered, and he seemed pretty familiar with the menu. And we got to chatting, and he said, "Oh, I can't wait to have a Nation Burrito again." And he said, "I remember them from back at the other location." We said, "Oh, that's so wonderful, so glad you remember us." And he said, "Yeah, I was 5, and my parents used to bring me every Friday night." And you remember this little guy who was a 5-year-old who loved to eat bean burritos, and it was just really sweet. It blew me away, and
you brought him right back to his childhood.
Yeah.
And who wouldn't want that?
Yeah, exactly.
What do you love about NDG specifically?
I love everything about NDG, but specifically, I love the diversity. I love the people and how diverse they are. So, on any given street around here, you will find students and writers and artists and doctors and nurses and blue-collar workers living together side by side, influencing each other, listening to each other. So I think that just makes it so, so special.
Mm-hmm. What would you like to see for NDG?
I'd like to see just more of the same, more greening and support for artists and the artistic community, things like the Art Hive and the NDG Art Walk, and and support and appreciation for local, non-chain kind of enterprises, which I think are getting pretty good support around here. Mm-hmm. So I'd love to see more of that and just keep going in that great direction.
And are there any shout outs you'd like to make?
Yes, absolutely. My husband, Roger, who I literally could not do this without him. And my niece, Grace, who's the hostess, and she greets everyone with this really authentic, genuine, "Hi, how are you?" And I think it really makes people feel welcome, and just to come out of the cold and have somebody actually say hi and be like, "I'm happy you're here." And then I've gotten really fortunate to have support from the local merchants and restaurateurs. So Kyle from La Louisiane has given me advice and support and shared his wisdom and knowledge. And so has John across the street from Coquino Coffee Shop. So really just to have that support and a sense of we're not in competition, we're actually supporting each other.
Again, very NDG sounding to me. Yeah. This looks like a fantastic place, and I will definitely be here. It's my first time, definitely not the last. I'm looking at the menu behind you, and oh my goodness, I will be back and try Nation Burritos.
Oh, great. Well, we'll be very happy to see you.
Thank you, Susan.
Thank you.
Hi, everybody. My name is Olivia. Welcome to TVNDG. Every neighborhood has got its own local bookstore. The one where you can go in, crack open a book, smell it, feel it, touch it, chat with the store shop owner. And those are really some great human experiences. So I'm here on Sherbrooke Street West in front of the Phoenix Bookstore. This is NDG's local destination for your fun reads. So without further ado, join me. We're going to go chat with Corinne Harris, owner of the Phoenix Bookstore, and get some more intel on this wonderful neighborhood hotspot. Welcome, everybody. My name is Olivia, and joining me is the bookstore owner, Corinne Harris.
Thank you for coming in to talk to me.
Nice to meet you. Okay, so obviously we're here at this beautiful bookstore. Tell me a little bit about it. How long have you had the store?
Well, I bought the store just over 4 years ago from the estate of the woman who had owned Nearly New Books, Livres Presque Neuf. Yes, she had owned it in NDG for many years, many decades, I think. And she passed away before I got to talk to her about the purchase of the bookstore. But I did want to buy it. It's kind of a cool little story. Driving down Sherbrooke, stopped at the stoplight at Clifton, saw it was for sale, thought about it. On the way back from doing my errands, the red light was red again, saw it was still for sale. I stopped, pulled over, wrote down the number, called. 6 weeks later, I was running a little bookstore.
Amazing. And
yes.
had you had the desire to get into this business prior to seeing the for sale sign?
Well, I always have been had an entrepreneurial spirit, and I love books. I was raised reading books. My mom worked at the library. I worked at the library as a teenager. I always volunteered at my kids' high school libraries, elementary. I just love books, so it fit.
It's fitting. Yeah,
yes.
that's great.
Yeah.
So the name Phoenix is pretty significant. It's got a lot of kind of weight behind it. Can you tell us a little bit about the context of why it's called Phoenix Bookstore?
Sure. Okay. Well, my assistant Melanie and I, we really wanted to change the name of the book to make it like a brand for us, and so we couldn't think of a name, and we were tossing around some funny ideas, and then during the pandemic, I had this dream one night, and there was this phoenix rising out of the ashes. As you know, we were all so stressed about what is going to happen with everything. And I called her the very next day, and I said, I had the dream about a phoenix rising out of the ashes. What do you think of Phoenix Books? Yeah. And Melanie says, amazing. And I said, will you do the logo? Because she's an artist. And she said, yes. And she created our beautiful logo.
Amazing.
So, yes.
That's a great story. Because it's so fitting for secondhand, right? It's giving a new life to these books. And
we came back as a out of the ashes from COVID, which we still aren't out of. But
let's talk about that a little bit, because obviously the pandemic is weighing on everybody. So you said you've had the store for about 4 years now, you said, but obviously you're going through this COVID period, which is awful for local businesses. Mm-hmm. What does a day in the life of a bookstore owner look like during COVID and pre-COVID?
Well, pre-COVID, it was, no masks, which was easier to breathe, easier to see, easier to smile at everyone. And it was fairly steady, and we were getting known in the neighborhood as we were the new book ladies on the street, Melanie and I. Yeah. We were in our very much smaller location across the street, and then I signed the lease, and then COVID hit. I signed the lease for this new space. So, of course, I lost a bit of sleep over that. What have I done? But it all worked out amazing. And we moved in. We opened up on the 15th, and the 18th was when the mask mandate came. Right. So then we had to put up our barrier, wear our masks, and then we've been wearing masks ever since. Okay. But people are very conscientious when they come in. They wear their masks. They wash their hands, like with our sanitizer. No one's ever given us any problem. I actually did all my research, and books, paper only holds any kind of pathogen for 3 hours at the max. Okay. So
you're surrounded by, you're good.
You're good. Clean books. Yeah.
Well, that's good. Mm-hmm. And then I know you meant we were talking a little bit offline before, but can you tell me a little bit about your process as far as curating, as far as, what else is entailed in your role here?
Oh, okay. Well, people tend to think it's kind of a hobby. I've never worked so hard in my life, so it's a pleasure and it's a joy. But there's a lot of physical work, a lot of the curating. I didn't realize I had such a good book sense, but I kind of get like spidey sense for books. So if I'm book hunting, if people bring me in books, I buy books. I take books on credit. I have a good sense, and Melanie and I both have a good sense for which books we want to sell. And our clients have been so helpful in terms of, I can't read every book. So
Yeah.
they tell me about the books that they would love to see and that they want to read or that they have read. And so it's been this process of a real community experience.
Oh, it sounds awesome.
Yeah,
Well, I
thanks.
mean, community is a great kind of buzzword you just touched on. So obviously it's a local bookstore. We know the pandemic hasn't been great for local bookstores. How do you feel it fares in comparison to you having to compete with all these huge franchise bookstores? How does that affect you? Is that something that's on your mind a lot?
Actually, not at all. I'm not in competition with anyone.
I love that. That's
no,
great.
I really am not. And that's why I think the bookstore, Phoenix Books, is about being here for the community. And whoever wants to walk down the street or drive down Sherbrooke or hop on the bus, we're here. And you can browse. You can't browse on Amazon.
No.
You can't feel. You can't smell. You can't open a book and find a dried leaf. So those are the things that people who love books and who come in are able to experience. And at the same time, we've got our bath bombs that are made in the little room behind my store.
Oh, you're kidding.
And so we always have this lovely smell of lavender and essential oils in the store. So it's kind of cool. It doesn't
I'm salivating now. I'm getting hungry.
yeah, so you can read a book and in a bath with your bath bomb. And so no, we have, it's great.
It's such a sensory experience, right? To be able to touch a book, smell a book, feel a book. No, I totally relate to you on that in terms of not being able to have that tangible experience online.
Right.
But good on you for maintaining your identity. I really think it's fantastic that you're community oriented.
Thank you.
And obviously NDG is a really special part of the city. It's a borough that's very proud. You are now an NDGite.
Oh yes.
Tell me about some of the things in the neighborhood maybe you'd like to see change or improved upon.
Well, I've seen NDG change a lot in the 29 years I've lived here. When we moved to Montreal, it was every single street had for sale signs up and down all the streets and paper on all the windows. So we've seen it grow and blossom and people's joie de vivre increase, and so many businesses have moved in and succeeded. And so I can't think of anything specific that I would want to see changed, except maybe a bit more free parking.
There you have it, folks. Free parking.
Yeah, sorry.
No. Listen, that's valid. It's a big inconvenience, so
Yes.
I get it.
Yes.
Maybe less construction also.
Oh
while we're at
yeah,
it.
yes, a few less digging up of Sherbrooke
Exactly.
every other week. So yeah.
Exactly. And then, so can you do you have any anecdotes you want to share with us? Just having been in the borough for so long, having had your store for 4 years now. Anything fun that pops up or anything interesting you want to share with people?
Well, I guess part of the thing that I find really cool about a bookstore is that there's a lot of serendipity that happens. I can't even begin to explain how many times someone has come in and said, do you have such and such a book? And we look, we check our shelves, we go, oh, sorry, we don't, but we'll take your number and we'll call you when it comes in. And if you found it somewhere else, not a problem. And they leave, and half an hour later, someone comes in and says, hi, I'd just like to sell this book. Are you interested? And it's the book they were looking for. And I can call them, or Melanie can call them, and they're freaked out.
Yeah.
And it happens time and time again. It's
You're
like,
kidding.
No, honestly, it's real. Bookstores have magic. I think there's like an energy that comes in with all these books it's wonderful. And people feel it when they walk in. Book lovers feel it. Even if you're not a book lover, you might have a good feeling when you walk in here.
Yeah, I think that's fantastic. It's very, you're kind of enveloped by the Earth's manifestation, right? The books coming in, and it's very serendipitous.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
It's an experience, though. It's an experience. You're absolutely right to walk in. Even same thing with record stores, secondhand record stores, same idea. You go, you can just dig and touch and feel and smell, and it's music lovers and book lovers and art lovers, really.
Yes,
right?
Absolutely. And can I tell you one more?
Yeah, absolutely.
The one that Melanie and I love. We love this story when someone pops open the door and goes, I'm sure you don't have this book. And we like, well, which book? And they say, they tell us the book name, and we walk over the shelf and we go, this one? And they go, I've been searching for it for 9 years. That kind of thing.
But those are magical moments.
Yes.
Those are human moments when you go, what's the chance?
I know.
What's the chance in all these shelves? They have the one book. It's a secondhand bookstore. I'm not going to find it. Bada bing, bada boom.
Yeah.
You pull it out.
So yes.
Oh, I love that.
Thanks.
So, Corinne, what do you love about NDG?
Oh my gosh, what do I love about NDG? I love the people. I love the support, the support network of the small business owners helping each other, supporting each other, all of the neighborhoods and the neighbors supporting each other. When we opened on Monday, people were coming in going, "You're on my list of people to support." And that's, I mean, they've got a list that they're going up and down the streets to support their local. I love the walking up and down the streets in the winter or the summer. The dogs, the kids.
Big dog community here, it's true.
Yeah, and the food. We've got great restaurants that have been opening and it's really for me, it's always about the people.
Yeah.
Honestly, it really is.
You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
It is. It comes down to that.
Yes, all ages,
Oh,
from the
good.
littlest kids up to the eldest of the elderly. It's wonderful.
No, community's a good. That's I think that's the focal point. Is community. That's really what it boils down to.
Yes.
And I think now more than ever, there's such a need to support locals. So I'm glad to hear that you're getting support from people and you're hearing and you're feeling reinforced. And obviously that's kind of part of what we're doing here too. Is we want to get the word out and make sure that there's some spotlight on these great community, local run businesses. So I appreciate your time.
Oh, thank you.
And before we kind of go, can you tell us what's the best way to get in touch or find you or find the books we want?
Okay, well, you can. We're on social media, Instagram at Phoenix Books NDG.
Okay.
And you can also find us on Facebook at the same handle. And our phone numbers is an easy one to remember: 514-482-READ.
482 Read.
Yes.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah, Belle was very cool when they gave me that one.
I was gonna say. and so you guys, now that the lockdown and I want to say it's kind of lifted. Let's say stores are starting to open again. Can people actually come into the store right now?
Yes.
Okay.
5 people at a time, and
Great.
everybody's very respectful of that because we did according to the government's regulations of how far apart everybody need to be, the square footage of our store, and how many we could have in.
Okay, good.
So yeah, and then there's myself, there's Melanie as the 2 employees, and then our book visitors. There's so many things I want to do once we can get back to gathering, because these shelves here are movable, and I can set up chairs, and we can have guest speakers, and we can do all kinds of fun things.
Oh, wonderful. Well, I look forward to being able to do that when all this pandemic stuff is over. But until then, very happy to chat with you, Corinne.
Lovely.
So thank you for your time.
Thank you.
And that's it, folks. We're here with Corinne Harris, owner of the Phoenix Bookstore here in NDG on Sherbrooke Street West. Come check it out. 5 people at a time, but you could still come in and smell the books. So do so. Thank you so much, guys. We'll talk to you soon. Take care.
Grandma style, I'm a real wild child, gonna pick you up in my 88. Come on, honey, now don't you be late, 'cause I'm a wild one. Gonna keep you straight. Honky tonk all day, honky tonk all night. Lordy, lordy, what an awful fright. I was catting around. Yeah, catting around. If I had my baby, wanted me in the jailhouse now. Baby, baby, yeah, grandma style, I'm a real wild child.
Hi, I'm Michelle Baxter and I am here from NDA. I am the Director of Programming and Community Liaison, and I am here with Kayla Pierre-Louis, who is going to talk to us a little bit about her art.
Yes.
Hi, Kayla.
Hi, how are you?
I am very well. How are you?
I'm doing great. This is awesome to be. I'm so happy to be here.
Thank you so much. Yeah, we're really happy to have you, and we're really excited to hear more about your art. So please tell us more about yourself and about your art and your process.
Well, I'll start about talking about myself. I am, as you said, Kayla, and
Hi, Kayla.
I was born here, and I grew up in NDG my whole life, and I just always loved it here. Everybody is so nice. Everybody is so involved. That's what we were talking about. Everyone is so involved, but I kind of just started getting into arts. Like, I was always creative. I was always drawing. I was always kind of doing some arts and crafts or participating in some show somewhere. And I guess that just kind of stuck with me, and it brought me here some way, somehow. So that's kind of how it all started. But I do want to say that my dad is a huge part of my creative process, because I grew up with him, watching him animate and draw and, you know, going to graphic novels and stuff.
And tell us a bit more about the materials that you use and your kind of process, how you make your art.
So the materials that I use are very, I would say, simple. These are all things that I started discovering as I went on. So I worked at Omer de Serre, which is an art supply store, and I was always behind the cash, and people kept coming with more things. I was like, oh my God, what are you doing with this? And I got tired of being behind the cash and not really creating as much. And I had 25% off, so I kept buying stuff, and I just tried it out. And I used kind of this pencil. It's a German style pencil. It's for kind of blending colors together.
Okay.
I have this, which is a detailed pencil. These are just my typical like tracing ones, you know. I have these, which is what I use to make my details.
This is the black work I see here?
Yeah, all
okay.
the black work that I use, it's with these little pens. They come in different sizes. You know, it could go from 20 millimeters to like a brush pen. I have here a oil pastel and then a watercolor oil pastel, which is what I also use. I mostly use watercolor in my art.
Okay.
And then a dry pastel that I just started trying out. And just a good old little Royal Langnickel brush.
So the watercolor art pastels that you're using, this is what we see here as opposed to like paint watercolor?
It's actually both. So the paper that I use is mixed media.
Okay.
And I go with watercolor, gouache, the fine liners, pencil, watercolor pastels, and regular oil pastels. And I kind of use watercolor for the background, and then I go over it with the pastels to kind of saturate it as much as I can. And where I want to keep it like translucent, I keep just the water. And then this is just recent. This I did like, I think last week.
Oh, wow.
So I was like, well, let me try to mix my black and white with all the colorful things I'm doing. And that's what it gave, so.
It's really beautiful.
That's how I use it, thank you.
And what was the inspiration for this painting in particular?
So lately, since we've been inside a lot, I've been missing outside.
Yes.
So I've been focusing a lot more on kind of nature and a lot more, it's kind of strange, but bio art, like looking at microbes and looking at bacteria, and it's just so colorful in itself when you look at it through a microscope. And the details and the patterns, the intricacies, I was like, I love this. So that's what I kind of try to do here.
Yeah, I really see that.
Yeah, I've been really interested in that, but also I'm a very spiritual person, and so when I create, I feel like I'm connecting with something within myself that I can express, that I can't just, like, this is why it's very abstract, right? Because I can't put that into just a shape, I can't put that into like something that exists. So I just use these splashes of colors, and that's why I think I have this interest for nature itself as well, you know? Does that make any sense?
Absolutely. Yeah, especially the stuff about the microbiology. I definitely see that in this painting here, and how that can look abstract to the kind of untrained eye, I suppose.
Yeah, exactly. But there's so much detail that goes. I mean, everything that we're made of is detailed, so that's why I focus most on that. And yeah, but I also like to just keep it free flowing. I never really go in with a sketch. I never really go, well, not anymore, but I don't go in with like a clear idea of what I'm doing.
Okay.
I kind of just build up.
So it's like
As I
very
go.
organic. It just kind of comes.
Exactly, just like nature itself, I
Yeah.
would say. So that's what it is. And this one was particularly inspired by, how do I say moisissure? Like mold.
Don't ask me.
Yeah, mold, because you see mold could come into like yellowish,
And the
green,
greens, yeah.
bluish. So that's what I go ahead and I build the color as I go to make it look more fluffy, I guess. So that's what it is.
Yeah, it's great. And I don't know how easy it is to see the back here, but we have just a black and white piece here at the back.
Yeah.
I want to talk a little bit about that.
So that's interesting. As I said, my dad was into animation, so he watched a lot of anime, like old school anime, and I love the art style. I love I don't know what it is about it, but the Japanese have an art style that no one really else has, and I've been trying to work on that. And this is kind of like I don't know how I should explain it. It's like, I was working on this project and I was like, what if like all my characters had a bowl of noodles on their head? It's really wacky, but that's what I thought. And I was like, well, they could be really cool domes, like, you know, kind of robotic domes, because there's a genre of anime that's focused on like sci-fi and all.
It does look very sci-fi.
Yeah.
And you've been you've been giving back your art skills to the community recently, if I'm right. You've been working with the Walkley Community Centre.
That all happened when I quit school. I was at Bois de Boulogne. I was doing history, and which is something I absolutely love.
Okay.
But it was just not working for me. The environment was not for me. And as I said, I was working at Augment Dessin, and so I was getting more interest in arts. And something happened where I was just like, okay, I have to stop all of this. And I was left with nothing else but my interest for arts. So I went to that, and I moved back into NEG with my mom, and I was looking for a job. And as I was on my way to Tim Hortons, right, I was like, is this really what I want to do again? Like, I had done retail, and let's just level up, right? And I saw the Walkley Center, and I was like, you know what, let me just go for it. And I walked in, and I said, hey, I would like to work with kids in arts. Is this something you'd be interested in? And they were like, of course. So I started working there, and I set up this program about showing kids different art styles and traditions from different cultures, right? Like old Japanese or even Caribbean cultures, cultures that they're not necessarily exposed to at home or at school. And I kind of made them go into character design and world building, which is something that I'm working on right now. And then, you know, Walkley loved it, and then I started working with the seniors where we did a journaling, like an art journal process, where that's when I got into the abstract. I would give them themes, and then we would just go ahead and paint freely and chit-chat, sometimes with some tea.
Of course.
Yes. So that's when it all kind of started, and then from there I realized how important the community kind of became more important than the art. The art was just a vessel, right?
Right,
to
exactly.
reach them.
Yeah.
Reaching kids, reaching all types of age groups was most important for me. And art was the best way I could do that, because there are certain things you just can't express through words.
Right.
Which is why my program was called Through Colors and Words, the journaling part. And then after that, I got another opportunity with Women on the Rise, where I just finished, and it was also kind of an art therapy program. And from then, I just decided I want to keep building this. I just want to keep building this community work. I want to keep building on my art and what I can do with it. What can I bring back, right? Because NDG has been so enriching for me. What can I bring and share with others? So that's what it's been, really.
Yeah, and we've been so lucky to welcome Kayla to our board at NDA
Yes.
just recently, and we're really excited to have her. So we're looking forward to working together with Kayla on new projects and really hammering home this like youth programming that we started to develop in the last year or so.
Yeah, because the youth, like, children are always encouraged to draw and all of that, but as I've been speaking about most is that teenagers, young adults are not as encouraged or as validated when it comes to that. So I just want to create a space and show them like, hey, I'm 20 and I don't know what I'm doing. So you can go ahead and not know what you're doing either, but as long as you create, right? So
Exactly.
that's what I've been mostly focused on.
Yeah, no, I think it's really valuable, and I think that NDG will be really lucky to have a program like that. And
Thank you.
yeah, we're excited to try and get that up and running at NDA and make that a reality. Yeah. So tell me, like, what do you love about NDG?
This is the thing. NDG is extremely diversified, and I never once felt like I wasn't in my place. It's only when I started reaching out elsewhere that I was like, this is kind of weird. I'm less accepted or less seen as valuable than when I was in the NDG community. See, I am of Haitian and Jamaican descent, and there's a lot less of a Haitian community in NDG, but a lot more like Jamaican, English Caribbean. And I grew up, I went to school with a bunch of different cultures, you know, people from Pakistan, people from anywhere, really, like a lot of Asians, a lot of Southeast Asians. I myself went to camp at the Walkley Center, I think for like a year. And that was the first time I was on stage, I think. I did like a little poetry thing that I read. And there was always something to do, right? Like even in my high school, Saint Luc, I was playing an instrument there, and then I did the musical there.
Okay, yeah.
And there's just the place is so green
Yeah.
as well. It's
I
green
agree.
and loving. And Monklin, I mean, who needs downtown when you've got Monklin Village, right?
Yeah, we're really lucky. And
Yeah,
Sherbrooke, like, we've got a lot
exactly.
of great businesses here too. Yeah.
Exactly. When I moved to Sherbrooke in the summer, I was just fascinated by how much life there was, right? Of course, going to bed at night was a little harder. I was next to a restaurant / club, so, but all of that was just great. That's what I love the most, just the community, and that's why I'm giving so much back, right?
So thank you so much for talking with us. It's been amazing. But do you have a social media site that you could?
Yes, I have an Instagram, which is yours truly sketches. I don't know if I'm going to keep that name, but that's what it is for now.
Okay. So
And you
people
can
do
really
that.
see the process of everything I've been doing for the last 2 years, I guess.
Thank you so much. It's been so interesting learning about your process and
Thank
how
you.
you grew up in NDG and the community work you've been doing here. So
Thank you.
Born in Mississippi, taking jobs in New Orleans. Yeah!
We're standing in front of the Wesley United Church Community Center, which is also the home to several daycares, including Over the Rainbow, as well as the offices of the Conseil Communautaire NDG, the NDG Community Council. And this is where Sharon Sweeney, who's a very, very active member of the community, has her offices. Sharon, if you haven't met her yet, is everywhere all the time. We truly don't know how she does it all, but whenever anybody's in trouble, she's there, even without asking, whether it's arts and culture or housing and the homeless, she's right there. And there are few people, I think, who are quite as dynamic as her. So we're going to have a word with her to find out if and when she actually sleeps. Come on in. Sharon Sweeney.
Hi.
Nice to see you here.
Thank you.
You do a lot of stuff in NDG. You are probably one of the most dynamic community workers I think that the borough has, if I'm not mistaken. I mean, we've met a lot, and there are some that are absolutely top of their game in this regard, and you are definitely amongst the very few who are at the very top. So you do a lot of stuff. Of course, we're sitting here at the offices of the NDG Community Council, but what we know is that, anytime anybody is in need in the borough, you seem to just jump to it. And so let's hear some of the things, just a few of the things that you are most involved in.
Okay, well, jumping to it is kind of is fun. It's a luxury. I get paid to do this, so it's exciting when we're able to help people, and it's exciting when we see that we're able to affect change. We affect change more when we work behind the scenes, and it's a longer, harder road. But it's a privilege to be able to help people, and it's a privilege when we see that we can help people and jump in. And really, also, I would say my colleagues are also second to none. Like they jump in without hesitation. A few things that we've been working on, I think that is relevant just now. I would like to, mention we did this series when the pandemic started. We did a series called Serenades from the Porches of NDG.
I remember.
And we had musicians serenade either essential workers, grocery store workers, hospital workers, a few different organizations that have really stepped up at the beginning of the pandemic, and they're still there. Everybody's still working really hard. It was a wonderful series. We went to, for example, I think the Como family.
Yep.
Ben Como and Michelle Hennigan and Christian
absolutely.
and Nathan and Renee.
Yeah.
We went to their place and they did a serenade. And that really touched me because Ben had not performed in front of people in months. And this is going back the end of May, beginning of June, imagine.
And he's a full-time professional.
Yeah, he's a full-time
and
professional.
Great musician, yeah.
And they played for quite some time. They played for like 35, 40 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
He was very happy, and there was just the crew filming them and a few of their friends and people on the street. And he was really touched that he played in front of people and he got to play live music. And that just shows the impact, that this pandemic has on us and the impact it has on your livelihood. Like, aside from earning money, it's a thing that he loves to do.
Yeah.
And he hasn't been able to do it. So
Yeah.
we had a wonderful time with the Serenades from the Porches, and we just got a bit of discretionary money from the city. And what we're going to do is we're going to put together a montage to honor everyone, and we realize it doesn't seem to be ending anytime soon. So we just want to contribute and make sure that the video gets shared at hospitals, at stores, at restaurants, so people know that they are appreciated and thought of.
I think that's a great idea.
Yeah.
Very, very cool. So I remember when the pandemic first hit and all of the cultural spots had to shut down, and that meant the art galleries and the live music and all that stuff. And, without even being asked, you just jumped right in and contacted everybody and got everybody together on a Zoom call, which was like, wow, like a superhero that kind of just jumps in, How did all that turn out?
Well, artists are really, I can't even think of the word in English, travail autonome. They work by themselves. They generate income by grants or, like Ben and Michelle, by working in bars. And it's not easy. And artists are the people that we've been relying on the most.
Yeah.
We all watch Netflix. We all listen to music.
It's an essential service.
Yeah, they're an essential service, and they're not being treated like an essential service.
Yeah.
What we really hope to do is have an impact study about how the artists have affected us throughout this pandemic and how they've been affected throughout this pandemic.
Yeah.
And they really are. If you're counting on performing, if you're counting on grants, they really are as vulnerable as anyone, and they're so essential to us.
Indeed, yeah.
Yeah.
Now, you've also been involved in housing projects, so there's Walkley and Fielding, and Grand, and there's Sherbrooke Forest.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about that.
So the housing at Walkley and the other buildings that we have on Grand, that's a not-for-profit organization, and I'm the president of that organization, so that is my volunteer work. Okay. I've been part of HCNDG Habitation Communautaire for 7 years. Social housing, it's some of the, maybe 40% of our housing is subsidized, and the other part of our housing is lower than market. And of course, the market in NDG is quite high. So our mandate is to keep housing affordable, safe, and secure. We don't always meet those objectives because housing is difficult, but we're working on it. I always encourage people to join boards, housing boards, because it's not always, sometimes it's a lot of work, but really where the work comes, that I always tell people, is more than the work that you're doing or joining a board or helping us translate or, being part of this organization, is you have to be dedicated to the cause. So if you're dedicated to the cause of housing and to helping people have affordable and safe housing, we want you to join some of our boards, because there's a lot in NDG.
Oh my goodness. And dedication, I think, is your middle name. So the next question I have is, do you ever sleep?
I do. I do.
Manage to, yeah.
I do.
From time to time.
Probably about 7 hours, solid 7 hours. I do.
Wow, that's impressive. 'Cause
Yeah, I do. I manage to.
with a family and all.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
incredible and amazing.
Yeah.
What would you say is the best thing about living in NDG?
Probably the people, the neighbors, the residents. Like, something happens, you put out a call and everybody steps up to the plate. Like whatever's going on, you need help, you just ask for help and it's there. And I think that, we live in a community that has a lot of different backgrounds and a lot of different incomes. And thankfully for us, people who are, much more padded don't think twice about helping the rest of the neighborhood. And, people who also have a good amount of padding sometimes need help.
Yeah.
And we seem to just be able to rally.
Indeed.
Yeah.
And what would you like to see for NDG?
Oh, goodness. What would I like to see for NDG?
What's top of mind?
Okay, so I might have a few things at the top of my mind. The Empress being a functional, cultural center, for starters. I feel like I've had a few ideas. I know this isn't going to go over with some people, but protected bicycle paths mean a lot to me.
Yeah.
A bicycle is a very affordable and democratic form of transportation. And you could buy a bicycle that costs $50. It might not be the best, but it will get you from A to B. I'd like to see little stations that they have in the plateau, a little bike stand that you could put your bike on and change your tire or put the air and, do what you have to do without having all of this stuff at your home. Because if you live in an apartment, you don't have a bicycle stand. You don't have all the tools to repair the bicycles. And I'd like us to change our attitudes a little bit about bicycles.
Okay, yeah.
They're important.
Yeah, agreed. Any anecdotes that you would like to share, or maybe a short anecdote about something that has happened that you were there to witness, or
I don't know if you're aware that we did the mural. Did a mural at the northern part of the Pharmaprix. And that was a bit of a labor of love, because we initially were going to do the other wall. And the other wall was kind of damaged and we needed the owner to repair it. And it didn't look like it was going to happen anytime soon. And somehow we figured out how to do the much bigger wall that we did. And it really was treated and received like Grande Visibilité. Like Our Lady of Notre Dame de Grâce. I don't think we ever saw so many people. People brought us food. People came, people, when they were up on the boom, people were waiting for them to come down so that they could thank them. It really was lovely, and it really gave people something to look forward to throughout COVID. And it really touched a lot of people. And it was just nice to always have people waiting for us to tell us thank you for contributing to the neighborhood.
Very, very nice.
Yeah.
Any shout-outs you'd like to make?
A lot of shout-outs. There's a lot of shout-outs. I would shout out the volunteers and my colleagues who did this activity over December called December Together. And we delivered, I believe, 600 meals to individuals and families in the neighborhood to kind of make up for the Christmas dinner not being around. And the only thing we've heard was good. People were very happy with it. Nice. And I got phone calls from residents who gave me good critiques of the restaurants and the food that they got. So I'd shout out my colleagues. I'm sitting here and I had to remember her family name. I wanted to shout out Claire Carney, who is an artist that lived in Sherbrooke Forest. And her and I redesigned this room because it was kind of ugly. And we wanted to make people feel comfortable and welcome and make the space cheerful. And she did a wonderful job.
And surrounded by PPE equipment, which says it all practically. You're taking care of the residents.
Yeah.
And those in need. One last question, which we may not include at all, but anything you'd like to say about Butters, the wild turkey that passed away recently?
So I guess I was one of the few that didn't follow Butters as much as everybody else. I'm very sorry. I didn't follow Butters. I still have like a soft spot for the whale that was here. And
Oh, yeah.
yeah, I didn't really follow Butters. I've kind of been busy. I think it kind of speaks to that we're a little bit isolated, that we're a little bit lonely maybe, that we're lacking something to bring us together, and a turkey going through the streets of NDG was kind of fun.
Yeah.
Fun and interesting.
Yeah. All right, good. I think we pretty much covered it.
Oh wow, that was quick. That was quick.